Nicolas Cage is probably one of our generation's definitive actors.
Hello and welcome to Cage Fighting. It's your main man Andy Gillard here. Hope you're all well right now.
Hi everybody, Matt Guy here. Hope everybody is doing fantastically today.
Good morrow. Hope it's hot for you as well.
So lads, we're here because it is now the first full week of July, so we've got 6 months worth of 2021 to discuss. Did think we could have done a top 5 maybe, but it's been a bit of a hit and miss year so far, so I thought maybe we'll just talk about a couple of genres and discuss things that we have seen and enjoyed so far for this year. So I thought we'll start off with something family friendly. We'll go for what you've enjoyed that's been an all ages kind of either a TV show or a film. The choice is yours. Matt, what have you liked that you think everyone might like?
Because the youth of today is desensitised to everything, this is slightly more... I think there's the occasional swear word in it. So it might be like PG-13 maybe, but I mentioned it a few weeks ago. Sweet Tooth, basically adapted from, I now understand, DC Comics, which I didn't know before. And a very long story short, the world has changed due to a virus spreading the nation, and hybrid babies have been born that are part human, part animal, and the people that are trying to wipe them out who believe that they are the key to the cure. So it's very much, good versus evil story, but it's very, very sweet at its core, like the name Sweet Tooth. It's very funny in parts, it's very sweet, and it's very explores the relationships between characters that never usually in a normal functioning world would ever get together. And you follow the life of Gus, the hybrid kid who doesn't have like a malicious bone in his body, and his innocence to the world really makes that show, really makes it could be really bleak. And if they wanted to take it in that direction, they could, but it's not. It's actually a really touching program. And like, I remember Sam cried like 2 or 3 times at it because of it, like being kind of hitting the heartstrings. Probably like family friendly, yes, but more kind of fantasy. Older children would appreciate it.
Ah, lovely. It's one that's been on my list for a while. I just haven't got around to watching it. I do need to push on and get through to that one. Stu, what's your choice for this category?
Nailed on. It's 3 years old at this point, but I only saw it this year. I don't know if it was because I've only just discovered it, but Bluey. It's on iPlayer, so it's on. I think it's either CBBC or CBeebies. It's fucking class. It shouldn't be. It's about when I was talking animals last week. And listen to the synopsis of it. An over-enthusiastic and imaginative blue heeler puppy, Bluey, goes on adventures with her younger sister, Bingo, which unfolds in hilarious ways. It's an Australian cartoon about a blue dog.
Do you want a bit of Bluey for the road?
Exactly. And it brings it all back into one thing, Blue for the road. You get them people in pubs going with the blue pills back in the day. When you had to get prescriptions for Viagra, and there was people. You never had this, did you? Look at your face. Like you had the
Nope.
the guy, the fish man who used to come round.
Yeah,
It was like the fish man, but for
hard-ons.
for knockoff cock drugs.
Oh my god!
He used to come in. So, bit of Bluey, lads, bit of Bluey, and those people. Got pity. He doesn't listen to this. Well, he might do, but who was a policeman at the time? He used to buy them every week. He said, "Lads, you can last all night on these Blueies, but you don't know what they are, so it doesn't matter." Nah, sound. His sound is. So yeah, nothing to do with them. It's an Australian animated show on CBeebies called Bluey. It's one of them things where it knows exactly what it is in the kind of Peppa Pig vibe, where if you actually watch Peppa Pig for long enough, you kind of get it. And there's a lot more there for adults than it seems on the surface.
See, when people say that, I always think of Pingu. I think Pingu's like that. I think Pingu knows that it's like it's adults are forced to watch it because of their kids, so it just makes it as hilarious as fucking possible because it knows that like adults. So it basically, Pingu gets domestically abused, and we all laugh at it.
I've gone for Mighty Ducks Game Changers. I think that has been an absolutely outstanding TV series on Disney Plus. It was properly wholesome, and it's got enough of the vibes of the original trilogy of films that people like ourselves that we would enjoy it. But I imagine that actually kids could go to this without having ever seen any of the original films and still really enjoy it. It's just such a nice, really wholesome, heartwarming TV series about a bunch of kids who want to be friends and play hockey together. It's lovely. So Mighty Ducks was mine. It would have been Soul, but it dropped the week before 2021 started.
Yeah.
Which, had we have done our top fives after Christmas rather than before Christmas when we recorded it, Soul would probably have made it into my top five of 2020. I thought it was a truly outstanding movie and deserved the Oscar. Just incredible. So the next category I've got for you fellas, I want something for the lovers of blood and guts. It can be a horror, it can be an action, it can be a thriller, but I want something that's a bit visceral, something a bit nasty. Stu, what have you got?
There's nothing more nasty than Mortal Kombat.
Fucking
Where nonsense that was, but fitting the criteria perfectly for what you want. If you want, switch your brain off. You might not enjoy it, but it's ridiculous and it's funny. But it's as gory as hell. And there is a couple of, well, there's probably about 2 or 3 max fatalities in it, but they do work. So that's what's going in for me. You can shake your head all you want. All you deniers trying to cling to things. And I know the original's coming to Netflix soon as well, so people can moan even more. But I liked it. It was fun.
I remember when I watched Mortal Kombat. No, it wasn't the first time, but what you got to remember is I watched films that were 18 when I went to my dad's when I was like 8 or 9. So I'd go to my dad's. We'd go to is it Charlie's? Yeah, it was Charlie's, which is a corner shop in Chapel Ash. Go rent an 18 film. So I'd watched like The Crow by the time I was like 8. And stuff like that. So I'd watch Mortal Kombat, and I remember at the end of Mortal Kombat being that hyped, that full of adrenaline, I started doing karate kicks around the living room. So I was just like that pumped up by that film. Fucking hell, it was sensational at the time. That was.
I still think the original is better than, like, that's the best Mortal Kombat film they've done so far. Like, much better than the current one, definitely.
And you know what, as well, about Mortal Kombat as well? Forever, whenever I hear an American say the word tournament, especially in the way that Americans say the word tournament, it's very what's the word? It's very harsh on the T's in the word tournament when Americans say it. I always think of Mortal Kombat. Because they always, just the way that it's brought up, it brings me back every single time. God, I love that fucking film.
I remember I went to Blackpool when I was a nipper, and there was some dodgy man selling like knockoff videos, like it was even before DVDs. And I remember buying a Mortal Kombat VHS, and I got home and it didn't fucking work. There was nothing on there. No, wounded. Yeah. So is Mortal Kombat your choice as well, Matt, or have you got something good?
No, I have a couple. So, American Gods Series 3 just about ventured into 2021, I believe. Admittedly, the blood and guts, there was a lot more of it in kind of Series 1 when it was talking about giving the sacrifices and stuff to Odin and the like, but I want people to watch it purely to generate the numbers so it gets renewed or gets picked up by Netflix or something like that, because it's a sensational show. I really loved it, and Ricky Whittle doesn't deserve the credit that I think he gets as an actor because of his run in Hollyoaks, whereas in this he was sensational. The story was fantastic. It was just really, really, really well done. I loved it. And then looking not too far away from home for us in Willy's Wonderland. It was just, it was great. It was everything you wanted it to be. It was gratuitously violent. We had the delectable Kaylee Karen in it as well, for that titillation element, and it was just exactly what you wanted it to be. It was so fresh, and it was a throwback as well. It was just a great film, and it's an adrenaline ride that you can leave your brain at the door and enjoy it, but not feel like you've sullied yourself for not watching something intellectually stimulating at the end either.
Yeah. I'd got Willy's Wonderland on my list as well for mine, and also The Quiet Place Part 2, which I know we mentioned last week. But the one that I wanted to mention was a film called Nobody, starring Bob Odenkirk, and it's kind of like I don't want to say mature, because he's not exactly an old dude, but it's like John Wick if John Wick had gone into retirement. It's that sort of movie. And Bob Odenkirk, who is just an actor I've got a lot of time for, he's a really funny comedic dude. And seeing him just kick the shit out of people, it shouldn't work, but it really does. You've also got the Rizzers in this film, Connie Nielsen, Colin Salmon, Christopher Lloyd. I thought this film was going to be just a proper 6 out of 10. You'll forget it tomorrow. But actually, it's fantastic. It's really, really well done. So Nobody is my lover of blood and guts choice this year. So the next one, I'm going to the other end of the scale. I want to know what you would watch if you want to laugh this year. So Matt, start us off.
So I'm going to reach out to a TV show that I never used to watch, and I think I've mentioned it before, and I'd poo-pooed it in the past, but I'm quite enjoying, well, 2 shows really. Quite enjoying Taskmasters and quite enjoying The Last Leg. And The Last Leg, obviously, with everything that's going on in the world at the moment, has had a few different specials and it's had a few different things going on. And The Last Leg especially is almost where I get my news from these days. Because, I don't think it's a surprise to anyone that Channel 4 often veers left, or it has at least a centre left kind of output to it. And the same is the same with The Last Leg, really. But The Last Leg is obviously comedic as well as being serious at times. And I do like my comedy when it, if it can have a political edge to it these days, rightly or wrongly. So I'm going to go for those 2 for now, really, as something. When it comes to when I need a pick me up, though, I'll always revert back to type, and I'll always watch something old. New comedy doesn't really do it for me. Like when I need that pick me up, I need something familiar. So I'll revert back to watching Peep Show, or I'll revert back to watching like a comedy film like Spinal Tap. But for a 2021 thing, watching The Last Leg's been really, really, really fun for me.
Yeah, I've had much the same issue. I've looked through my list of films that I've watched this year, and there ain't really many comedies amongst them. And the ones that are probably fit better into other categories, like Nobody, which is a little bit funny, but it's more action, so I couldn't really put it into the comedy category. So the one that I went for is a film called Moxie, which I really, really enjoyed. I'm a big fan of Amy Poehler anyway, and she directed this movie. And it's about a teen girl, and she has decided she's going to stand up for herself. There's a lot of shit that is going on in her school, so she starts to write this fanzine called Moxie, pointing out all of the hypocrisies and sexism that goes on in her everyday life. It's a comedy that's got a lot of heart to it. It's on Netflix, and I'd recommend it to absolutely everybody. I think there is something in there for everybody to enjoy with this movie. So Moxie is my choice. Stu, what about yourself?
The same, because there wasn't even a classic year yet for comedy, really. The ones I've seen, I laughed probably more than anything else at Willy's Wonderland. We've already mentioned again. You can see how great it is. Fast and Furious 9 has to go in there because I did laugh quite a lot in that film. Probably not intentional, but I did. But now, I think out of everything, probably this time, it wasn't as good as the first series, but there was still some classic Partridge moments in there. But almost by default, really, that it ain't been a classic 6 months, really.
Yeah, I mean, like I love Inside Number 9, but I don't think the latest series of that has been high on the yucks. Like, it's been fantastic, but it hasn't had the comedy that I tend to associate with it. Maybe Motherland might be one of the ones that I've enjoyed for TV. Season 3 was released this year. I enjoyed that. I think that's still showing on the iPlayer. That's worth checking out. So we've gone from laughing to crying. Give me something dramatic, please, lads. Stu, start us off.
Oh, now we're talking. I don't know if to class it as one thing or another, but Unforgotten, which is an ITV show which is probably finished now, but its final season was as intense as where everyone expected a certain other BBC One show that everyone suddenly got all obsessed about should have been. But it's the ITV equivalent. 4 seasons, 3 on Netflix, 1 that's just finished, should be on ITV Hub. Unforgotten. Sanjeev, that I can remember his name of.
Sanjeev Bhaskar.
Yes, that's the one. Sanjeev Bhaskar. In a he's got comedic elements to him, obviously, but he's playing a straight role. And I think I mentioned it at the time, how just incredibly well done that series is. And no one talks about it, and they still don't talk about it. And you have certain people on Twitter and UK TV personalities all raving about it, and I think Stephen Fry was talking about it as well, saying everyone should see this show. But it's just it's almost been forgotten about itself. But yeah, Unforgotten, it's incredible.
Yeah, I think you're the only person I've ever heard mention this show, but you speak so highly of it. Like, I feel like I am missing out on that.
It's not even me taking the piss for it out of anything. It's just really, really good.
Super. Matt, what about you?
Now, I've took the use of the word drama and tweaked it for my own gains here, because it's just stuff that I wanted to mention, but I didn't get a chance to really to shoehorn it in any other category. So I've shoehorned it in this. So that being said, 24 Hours in Police Custody, the Black Widow 2-parter was very, very entertaining. Basically, the story of a woman who tried to convince about 3 different boyfriends to murder her ex-husband, and the story of how she came to her arrest and the story that goes. But it's a very, very brief snapshot into how obviously CPS and the criminal justice system works at the point of arrest, and how it can be manipulated, and how this woman was just so inherently evil. Not evil to the point where, like serial killer evil or Fred and Rose West evil, but how manipulative she is and how she played the system. And it was just really excellent TV, and I really enjoyed it. And I remember raving about it at work, and then the next day, like, some of my other fellow managers would come in and go, "I watched that. I really enjoyed it. I was like, listen, when I give a recommendation, I mean it." And then taking the word drama incredibly, I've got to say, Below Deck has been sensational. Are you familiar with Below Deck?
No.
It's one of them fishing shows, eh?
No, Below Deck basically is in the same trash TV category as Married at First Sight Australia, basically.
Oh, God. Right.
Basically a £20 million cruise boat, not a cruise ship, it's like a massive yacht, gets rented out by millionaires and celebrities, and it basically follows the crew as they go on charters, and it all goes wrong. Basically, on every single series is the same. It starts off they all get on well, then a couple of them sleep with each other, then there's always a fire on the boat somehow. One of the critical members of staff leaves, like the chef or the head stewardess, and they all band together at the end, and in between it there's always the captain who remains the same, and then it's just what happens. It's really shit trash television, but it's brilliant as well at the same time.
Well, we know that the obvious answer for this will be Love Island, but it's not finished yet, so can't class it.
See, I don't. Sam said to this, she goes, "Well, why don't you like Love Island then if you like Below Deck and Married at First Sight Australia?" And I said, I can't explain it. I think it's because Love Island is because they're British. They're so much more insufferable. Because I think it's what it is.
I've not watched any of them. I'm sure you'll be surprised to learn. I can't do reality TV. I don't. I'm genuinely stunned. I expected of Stu, but not you, Matt.
Listen, we all have our foibles.
Yeah.
But you know what? Out of all of us, who would be the best contestants on one of these shows? Would it be him?
I think it'll be you.
I'm too normal for that.
What? Mr. watches porno on a football match. Mr. goes to the wrong funeral. Mr. started to be paid to be a bingo caller at 15.
Yeah, these are just things that happen. So I've said I don't seek these things out. These just happen to me.
And that's only things that you've mentioned literally in about the last 3 weeks. This is no, definitely you, Stu, on one of these shows, I'm afraid.
Yeah, 100% you. To bring it back to actual drama, I've gone with Promising Young Woman. I think that's the outstanding film of this year for me. I thought it was truly sensational. Obviously, it's done the rounds with all the Oscar talk, so everyone knows about it anyway. The performance that Kerry Mulligan gives is second to none. Bo Burnham is fantastic in his role as the quote-unquote the good guy. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I think that's a film that I'm probably going to watch every year for the rest of my life. I think it is so good. The other film that I did want to point out that I don't think got quite the traction in this country is a film called Judas and the Black Messiah.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Which I love that movie. I'm a big fan of Daniel Kaluuya from way back when he started out in Psychoville, back when he was known as Tea Leaf back then. Such a good actor, and it's the story of Fred Hampton, who's a person I'd never heard of in this country. Obviously, the Black Panther's been such an American organisation. It possibly hasn't translated over here, and maybe not to our age group. But it's the story of him and how the FBI tried to take him down. Truly amazing story that is sadly true because, well, it's just a shame that we live in a world where shit like that can happen. Yeah. So I want to know a documentary that you enjoyed. Matt?
So this is my wheelhouse, really. I do like a documentary these days. There's a few to pick from, really, but again, there was a few other categories that I know that other documentaries would fall in. So the Netflix documentary on Pele would be my pick for this category. I really liked the same thing. What I really enjoyed about the Maradona documentary a couple of years back is where it pits you in it gives you the social, economical history of the time, as well as the career of a national hero for the Brazilian game. Now, I didn't know much about Maradona really prior to that documentary. I certainly don't know as much about Pele as I should, being a fan of football as I am. So having that education, as well as it being a great documentary, in the first place, I really, really enjoyed. I think it's sensational. It's not for me Maradona level of excellence. Asif Kapadia, I think that will go down as one of my favourite sports documentaries of all time. But Pele is definitely worth a watch for knowledge more than anything, just to get an idea of an extraordinary career and a national icon that probably we don't know enough about, or we owe it to ourselves to learn more about if you are a fan of the game.
Yeah, I've not got around to that one. I might add that one to the list now.
I want to watch the Roberto Baggio biopic, The Golden Ponytail. I want to try and get that watched before I go away if I can.
Yeah, I've heard good things about that one as well. I haven't got around to that one either. Stu, what's been tickling your pickle for this one?
Well, it came out 3 years ago, but it has only been put on Prime this year. That Kaiser documentary about the guy who never actually played a game, who kind of blagged his way through Brazilian clubs for 20 odd years. But that's just ridiculous. But again, really well made. But now the one I mentioned it at the time that you all mocked me for, Seaspiracy.
I knew you was going to say that.
Yeah, it really affected me. the poor fish. But it was just like it was the fact about the whole the bad global corporations and stuff like that. And obviously the guy's got an agenda anyway. But you take these things for what they are. But the fact that there were actually facts about how all these things are so dodgy and interlinked, and you think, well, of course they are, because anyone with any kind of money is dodgy and bent. So it was just one of the moments where my stupidity and naivety was just kind of exposed again, and I thought, oh no, I really should have noticed what was going on here. But yeah, really well made for what it is. And he did a good job.
That's fair. I'm stunned neither of you two mentioned the Friends reunion. I thought that would have been high up on your list for both.
Is that a documentary, though?
Yep.
It's
talking about what went on in their past and talking about the possibilities of the future. It's a kind of unscripted thing. So I thought you'd have gone for that one.
Yeah, it was hard, that, because I wanted to bring it up, and the Friday night dinner one, but it wasn't comedy because there wasn't acting in it, and it wasn't but it also didn't feel like a documentary for me either. I didn't know where. I didn't know where. That's definitely a miscellaneous category. Something that I enjoyed, though.
Yeah, I was just going to mention it later. What everyone should watch, but
it's fair. My documentary is the Framing Britney Spears. I think it was really fucking well done. I did not at all expect to enjoy Framing Britney Spears. I thought it was just going to be tripe talking about a musician, but actually it went into quite a lot of detail about the trials and tribulations that she went through, and obviously the conservatorship, which is in the news. Maybe it's not in the news by the time this goes out, but such a big story that engulfed the world earlier this year, and I think that was just really well made, and it really changed my opinion on Britney Spears and that whole time period of how she was treated. Like, everyone just assumed she was this sex pot's not quite the right word for it, but this kind of vapid, vacuous, attractive person. But actually she had so much shit going on in her life behind her, trying to keep it all together. And like, my heart kind of broke for a little bit, but hopefully things are starting to look up for her now. Fingers crossed. But yeah, Framing Britney Spears, brilliant.
I think friend of the show Tara linked that article about in the Guardian about all this nonsense that was going on with her dad and controlling her of being on the pill or whatever, or some implant. And I'd never even heard about this system before, or where anyone would even sign up to it. And obviously, it's abuse and control and all that kind of stuff. But even just reading that Guardian article, I'm going to watch this now because I hadn't heard about this. But yeah, shocking.
Yeah, I mean, I think she was put into this conservatorship because she had some kind of mental breakdown and she needed someone to look after her. So I kind of get why it started, but that was like over a decade ago, and she's still in it. And she's forced to have this IUD implant so that she can't have children. And, you know, no person should have agency over another human's body. It's just fucking appalling. So fingers crossed things will get better soon for her. So that's the categories anyway for what we've enjoyed so far this year. I want to know what's let you down in the 6 months so far. Matt, start us off.
So me and you texted about this late one evening, I remember, Andy, and it was The Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel. Now, this was in the midst of a very high period of serial killer / real life crime documentaries. It was just at the right time for this to be released. And based on the first episode, you'd think, wow, this is a really intriguing story. But it very fastly deteriorates into being a show about internet sleuths and less about the whodunit and the mystery, and more about like the internet's reaction to it. And it became very boring very quickly. It could have been a 1 hour and it would have had more of an impact than the 4 or so hours that it eventually ended up being. And it really let me down in the end because it was so promising at the start, but ended with such a wet fart. I'm a poet and I don't know it.
The issue I had with the internet sleuth side to the storyline was it gave them prominence. It put them on an equal footing to the police who were investigating it. It wasn't a case of saying, and this is what happened and how bad is this. They all almost made it out like it was valid what they were doing. And I thought it was awful.
Because you've got, like, don't fuck with cats and stuff like that. Like, there's a story to be told there about the internet and its impact on crime or whatever.
Both good and bad, yeah.
Yeah. But this just wasn't it. I was really disappointed with it because I remember telling you, man, this show's great. But you'd already finished it by the time I'd got... And I remember you saying like you were disappointed with it. And then I come to it and I was like, yeah, this was a bit wank, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a sad one, that one. Stu, what's let you down?
Considering how much wank films and series that I've stuck with over the years, it takes a lot for me to just drop out and say no more. And that was Batwoman, season 2. Fucking shit.
Yeah.
It's just absolute wank. And it wasn't the fact that, yeah, it's a black Batwoman and it's all changed. It was, you might as well just called it Bat virtue signaling every week. It was just forcing, say something like this, forcing things down your throat, but it really was. Everyone had to be a lesbian or everyone had to sleep with someone else. It's fucking Batwoman. And out of all of them, out of all the CW shows in that kind of the old Arrowverse or whatever it's called now, they all had their own thing. And that, I know she left, and they had to do what they had to do, but it just absolutely nosedived. And obviously, Andy being Andy kind of was on the precipice anyway of jumping off. And I thought, no, I ain't going to leave halfway through. But I just had enough. And there was one point, I can't even remember the point that it was. But it was just the same thing every week. Nothing changed. And it was just too much. And I thought, well, no, sod you. There's more than enough things to watch. And from the first episode or the first 2 episodes, it was promising. It looked interesting. But then it never went anywhere for like 2 months. Them whole 2 months, them 8 episodes could have just been 1. Nothing would have, there'd been no difference. And I thought, well, that's it then, game over. You're gone.
Yeah, I mean, I remember saying to you at the end of the first season, I will give it the first episode of the next season, and if it's still shit, I'm going to cut it. Because I didn't like Ruby Rose. I don't think she's a particularly good actor, and I never felt the scripting was strong enough to really hold it for 24 episodes. And then it came back, and the first 2 episodes actually quite promising. I did quite like Ryan. I think her name is the new Batwoman. And then it just nosedived. I think I stuck with it to episode 5 or 6. And I was like, okay, I'm done because this is just shit now. I remember saying to you, I'm out. And you were going to stick with it. And obviously you didn't. And yeah, it does take a lot to kick us out of it. But once it's done, I'm afraid. What's let me down? Spiral was a bit shit. But I don't think I had massive high hopes for it anyway. Mortal Kombat. I think I did have high hopes for it, but it was cack. Fast 9. Like, I have been an unapologetic fan of the Fast saga, but I felt that Fast 9 was a real letdown. Obviously, listen to last week's pod for me and Stu discussing that one. Army of the Dead, I was looking forward to it, but I've realised this year that I don't really like Zack Snyder. But the one that really was the biggest letdown of all was WandaVision. I really, really was looking forward to WandaVision. I thought this might be the thing that changes my opinion on the MCU from being a casual fan to being someone who thinks, okay, it's grown up, let's move on with it. And it ended up just being a bit nothingy. Like, I know that they were going for a look at the mental health, but they never went enough into Wanda's grief to really have any impact, and it just ended up being another MCU plodding storyline until the last hour where it's just 2 people throwing cars at each other. It was just disappointing. So what would you like, or what are you looking forward to seeing that's due to come up in the second half of 2021? Stu?
Bond, maybe, hopefully. At last. I just want to get over and done with now. It's been so long. And it's been so long that I need to go and watch the Daniel Craig ones again now, because I was planning to do that anyway because it had been a couple of years, but it's been it's been nearly double that now, and just to get it out of the way, and it's his last one, and I'm always going to go in with an open mind anyway, and half the time I've been surprised and pleasantly surprised at that. The other two, not so much. So hopefully it ends on a high. But yeah, it's just watching it finally is more than what I'm wishing for more than anything now.
I feel that this Bond for you, Stu, is more than James Bond, and it's almost like a signalling the end of the pandemic for you.
Oh no, it's over now.
No, but I mean, like life is back to normal because Bond is back, kind of thing. That's like I think this film means more to you than Bond.
Matt, what are you looking forward to for the next half a year?
So I'm really looking forward to the Many Saints of Newark, basically the prequel to The Sopranos.
Mm-hmm.
Sopranos is one of 3 shows in my godlike tier of television. Only 3 shows occupy that. Can you tell me those 3 shows? Well, can you tell me the other 2 based on our conversations we've had?
Lost?
No. I mean, I love Lost. It's in a category of its own for enjoyment, but it's not godlike television.
Breaking Bad?
Breaking Bad, yep.
Yeah, that's got to be. Is it another one of these like tough, overarched storyline dramas?
No, I don't think you'll get it. You've seen it, but I probably haven't talked about it enough. Right. It's basically Utopia. The Channel 4 show. Unbelievable. Anyway, back to the original point. Many Saints of Newark, prequel to The Sopranos. Any excuse for me to watch any kind of like gritty New York / New Jersey / any kind of mafiosa world of any description or America generally in the 70s and 80s, I'm down for. So yeah, really looking forward to this.
Fantastic. I still need to get around to Sopranos. I 100% know this is the type of show I will love. But it's just one that, for whatever reason, I've just never found that space to fit it in.
The beauty of The Sopranos is, which other shows fall foul of, it doesn't matter about how it's aged and how it looks now because it's storytelling and everything else takes it above how it looks. An episode when 2 of the characters get lost in the woods, it's like, it's so ridiculous, but just that interaction is enough. Is one of like the groundbreaking episodes of that show. It's just it's funny, but at the same time they're trying to kill someone, and it's just so entertaining. I do really recommend it.
Okay, yeah, I need to get around to it. I always said I'd do it after watching Mad Men, and I finished that last year, so I really have no excuse. On TV, I am looking forward to seeing the return of Gil Grissom in CSI Vegas. I was a fan of the CSI franchise, and Grissom was the character in it, really. So I'm looking forward to that coming back. In the cinema, though, obviously last night in Soho, the new Edgar Wright film, Ghostbusters Afterlife. Much like Stu with Bond, like I feel like I've been waiting forever and a day for the new Ghostbusters film, so can't wait to see that. Jungle Cruise, because it's got The Rock and Emily Blunt in, and what more can you ask for in a movie? The Suicide Squad looks great, and Dune. Is it Dune or June? I don't know how you pronounce it.
Oh, it said June.
I assumed it was June.
Okay, so June. I know absolutely nothing other than apparently it's an unfilmable book. But seeing the trailers for it, it just looks incredible. So I'm looking forward to seeing that one. And I will try and get it on IMAX, I think, because it looks like it might be worthy of the biggest screen humanly possible.
Or 4DX.
Not 40X. So to round it off, I want to know what gets the Tiger King Award for 2021. That is the show that the whole world needs, the show or film that the whole damn world needs to see. Stu?
Nice and easy. Invincible. Just superb from start to finish. No more words need to be said that we haven't already said about it. It's just perfectly paced. It looks amazing. It's not, obviously it's not for kids. Although they could watch it, it's perfectly fine. Just that would probably be my surprise of the year more than anything else. Even though I do like Walking Dead and obviously a lot of Kirkman stuff, but I don't expect it to be anywhere near as good as it is.
Yeah, I've gone for the exact same show. I think Invincible has been the best thing on TV, streaming, whatever. I think it has been incredible. I didn't know a lot about the comic book other than it was Kirkman, but I was looking forward to it. And I love the fact that they've used the animation style they've used is the exact same as the comic book art. It's such a clever, like, you see so many TV shows where they change it up, and it just seems like such an obvious thing to do, to just keep it the same as the books. But that's such a little thing, and it worked perfectly. The voice acting is outstanding. The storylines in it are brilliant and brutal and kind of funny and gross at the same time. It's got a bit of everything. I loved Invincible. Cannot wait for the second season of that one. And if they do a live action, I will be all there for it on day one. Just brilliant. Matt, what have you got?
So, to counterbalance my disappointment, Night Stalker, The Hunt for a Serial Killer, very much my bag when it comes to what I like to binge watch. And this was a good example of how to portray a true crime story killer, basically the story of Ricky Ramirez. And I just think it was really excellently done, really nicely paced. You know, I don't know a great deal about American true crime, and after watching I know this isn't a documentary, but the trial of O.J. Simpson, the People versus O.J. Simpson, I've just obsessed all of a sudden with Americana and serial killers and that world. And this was just a really excellent, show that I think will go under the radar for a lot of people because they probably don't think that true crime is their thing. But you know, we as a population, as a species, are obsessed with the morbid, and me especially. And I think it is interesting and oddly tantalising to watch what the more depraved in our society can do. And I just think everybody should watch it.
It is good. There was 2 documentaries I think will be up your street then, Matt. So O.J. Simpson Made in America, the 20 for 20 ESPN. It's available on Disney Plus. It's like 8 hours long, but it is fucking outstanding. And you've also got another one, which is I'll Be Gone in the Dark, I think it's called, which is about the original Night Stalker, the East Area rapist. Brilliant. HBO, so you know it's quality stuff.
Yeah.
So I will recommend you those 2 because you'll love them. I genuinely think you'll love. Perfect. So that's us done for another week. We'll be back with a question cast next time out. We'll put our call for questions on Twitter imminently, so make sure you watch out for it and you can let us know. So any questions you do have, CageFightingPod at gmail.com or on the Twitter at CageFightingPod. So if you can, please make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss an episode, and also if you could leave us a review and just let your friends know if you're enjoying what we do. So for this week, Matt, would you like to say goodbye?
Take it easy, guys. Wishing you a healthy and happy second half of 2021.
Stu, would you like to say goodbye?
See you later. Love you all.
And it's goodbye from me. Thank you for joining us for this half-time report, and we hope you have a great rest of the year.
Be excellent to each other.